I'm going to be honest. I really don't like being in my Instagram stories all day. I'm just not one to show everything that's happening in my day, mostly because I find it incredibly distracting. However, for a while there, I was hearing everywhere from every entrepreneur I looked up to that showing up in your stories leads to higher conversions, meaning more clients for your business. So I decided to commit to showing up every day. Well, almost every day during my morning cup of coffee. And I've been able to keep that up for the past month. I've learned a lot of lessons from this little experiment, and I'm excited to share them with you all today.
You're listening to the Support Squad podcast, where virtual assistants come together to share their best business tools and tips. Virtual assistant for life coaches Sharon Nissen created the Support Squad with a firm belief in community over competition. Whether you're a new virtual assistant looking for advice on how to get started, or an established virtual assistant looking to expand your skills and invite even more abundance into your career, you're in the right place. Working from home doesn't have to be lonely. We're in this together. Now, here she is, the host of the Support Squad podcast, Sharon Nissen.
Hey, I have a lot I want to share in this episode, so I'm not going to add in any fluff. Let's dive right in. To start, I want to share some of the reasons I was resistant to showing up in my Instagram stories because I think some of you will be able to relate. So first of all, I felt like I needed to look perfect and pretty in order to show my face on camera. I was so incredibly self-conscious about my appearance. But when I really started to pay attention to other entrepreneurs that were showing up in their stories and having success, I realized that what made them engaging was that they were authentic. Hey, we work from home. Most of us don't do our hair and makeup. And avoiding my stories because I didn't look picture perfect started to feel kind of silly. I mean, isn't that what filters are for anyway? I'm happy to say I've completely overcome that self-conscious mindset. So if you're still feeling like you need to be all done up in order to show up in your stories, I want you to really notice how other people are showing up. I think you'll find that your favorite people to follow aren't the made up and polished ones. They're the ones who are showing up every day just how they are and providing value. So speaking of value, that's the second reason I was resistant to showing up in my stories. I'm not the type to want to give a play-by-play of my day or even really share that much about my kids and my family. And yes, those things, that kind of content totally works for some accounts. But for me, I knew that I wasn't going to want to show up in my stories without providing some kind of value every single day. So if you listen to episode 27, where I talked about my process for batching and repurposing content, you might remember that I use a Trello board to organize ideas for upcoming Instagram stories. Having those prompts made it so much easier for me to pop into my stories and provide value to my audience. So go back and listen if you haven't heard that episode yet. So the third thing that was keeping me from showing up in my stories was time. I simply don't have time to be in my Instagram stories all day. I'm a mom. I'm working like crazy for my clients. I've got this podcast. I've got the Support Squad membership community. And let's be real, Instagram is just not always at the top of my priority list. You guys know I love to batch, so everything in my feed is planned out way ahead of time. And spontaneously popping into my stories just isn't always feasible. So I also get really distracted by Instagram, and I try to avoid it during the workday as much as possible. But here's one thing I discovered. By committing to showing up during my morning cup of coffee, my Instagram stories became a part of my routine, and I got them out of the way super early in my day. So providing value early in the day makes it easier for me to justify in my head, popping in and sharing little life moments later in the day. So overcoming all of these little things that I felt so resistant about, that eliminated any blocks I had about showing up in my Instagram stories. So whatever you're struggling with, whatever is holding you back from showing up, I want you to dig in deep and heal all those little pieces. Because as entrepreneurs, especially in this online space, we can't afford to hide due to fear. So next month in the Support Squad membership community, I'll be featuring Peggy Ray James as our guest expert. We just recorded her training about how to use social media to connect with and land clients. Her strategies were super effective and they've worked like gangbusters for her students. But I'm telling you right now, those effective social media strategies always include putting yourself out there. So you gotta get over that fear, you guys. All right, so is it really worth it to dive into your Instagram stories the way I did? Let me share some stats. So I had the same number of posts in June and July, but July was when I made the commitment to showing up. So let's compare those 2 months. In June, my random just sometimes posting in Instagram stories averaged about 45 views each time I posted. Now I'm averaging about 120 views per story. So that was a huge increase, almost 300%. So I also got on average 5 more comments per post in my feed in July versus June. I don't have stats on my DMs, but it's safe to say that they exploded. People were DMing me left and right, which is a great way to connect with potential clients and customers. And my follower growth almost doubled. In June, I only gained 38 new followers, but in July, I gained 63. And then there were the less direct results that might be tied to my Instagram stories. Things like more website visitors, way more podcast downloads, and a huge spike in people joining the Support Squad Hangout on Facebook. You guys, I was seeing results left and right just from making that little change of showing up in my Instagram stories. And a lot of this has to do with the Instagram algorithms, right? Now, keep in mind, we're not trying to beat the algorithm. I hear that a lot. Beat the Instagram algorithm. It's not a game. We're trying to work with the algorithm to our best advantage. So I know that the algorithm likes me to be in my stories all day, every day, ideally posting every 3 hours or so. But since I don't like to be in my stories that much, I had to be strategic. So when I posted my morning coffee chat, I usually asked a question to my followers. Then I would strategically share the answers to the question throughout the day rather than all at once. So this kept me on the top of people's story feed. It made the algorithm happy, but I wasn't actually doing all that much extra work. The algorithm also really likes when I make it easier for my followers to engage with me. So I filled my stories with questions, polls, etc. Remember, Instagram's main goal with the algorithm is to keep people on the app. So any way you can get people to linger on your stories longer, the better. On that note, I also made sure to type up little captions anytime I was talking to the camera. I don't know about y'all, but if I see someone's stories without any captions or words, sometimes I just skip it. Sorry, I just skip it. A lot of people, including myself, watch Instagram stories on mute. So having captions really helps capture their attention longer and highlight your key points. So another thing that makes the Instagram algorithm happy is when you're social. As much as possible, you should tag other users in your stories. Did you see a super informative post from another virtual assistant? Tag them in your story and let your followers know about it. Are you listening to this very super cool podcast right now? Post about it in your story and tag me. Okay, so I'm kind of joking, but not really. But when you tag people in your stories, it creates engagement and it also gives them the opportunity to connect with you. Overall, I found that it's not that hard to make Instagram's algorithm happy. In fact, It's pretty intuitive. You really just need to think about what will make your followers happy. And that's providing value, engaging with them, and being social and friendly. Not so hard, right? And the biggest lesson I've learned from this experiment, which is actually now just part of my daily life, is that I actually like Instagram a lot more now. I've learned that what we post in our feeds actually really doesn't matter as much as what we share in our stories. And that takes a lot of the pressure off. So I'd love to encourage you to start showing up. And if you want to deep dive into this topic, I mean really deep dive, you are going to love Peggy Ray James' training in the Support Squad membership community next month. She goes beyond just how to get followers and stay engaged with them and really explains step by step how to turn your Instagram followers into dream clients. So if you don't want to miss it, make sure you're enrolled as a member at thesupportsquad.com. Psst, did you know it's less than $20 a month to access all the goodness of the membership community? I'll see you in there. Until next time, Boss Babe.